Welcome back, Book Fiends, to Wicked Good Books, a channel dedicated to books and things book adjacent. My name is Nick, and I'm the host of this channel. Welcome back, Book Fiends. I hope you had a great holiday break. I took the month of December off to get some reading and some writing done as I sort of kind of bailed on NaNoWriMo. I won't say I bailed on it. I just chose to write at my own pace and not really compete like I did last year. But I still got some decent amount of writing done, as well as reading, and of course spending time with my girls during the holidays, one of my favorite times of the year. So I did take some time off of BookTube, but I'm back. I got a new setup, if you couldn't tell, thanks to my family. I got a new camera and some new lighting equipment. So I'm really excited to test it out a little bit. It's going to take me a few videos to kind of get the hang of it and see kind of where I like it, what the aesthetic I'm going for is. For today's video, I was thinking we could do a January 2021 TBR. I've been reading a ton, and there's a ton of books that just went by pretty quickly without me taking any videos. I'll probably talk about those more in a vlog about the books I read last month, or if you follow me on Goodreads, which I'll put a link down below, you should see all my progress that I made last year for my 2020 reading goals. I set my new reading goal at 75 books for the year 2021. Last year, I believe I was at 60, and I just made it right before midnight on the 31st of December to reach that goal, which I didn't start till March. So I feel like I gave myself a little handicap, so it worked out pretty good. But for this year, starting in January, I got a couple awesome books I've been really excited about. I actually had just finished Rhythm of War last month, right at the end of the month. Really enjoyed it. Read it and listened to an audio. I have a lot of things to say about Rhythm of War, but I'm sure there are tons of other reviewers out there that have already kind of covered it. If you'd like me to do a review of Rhythm of War for spoiler or spoiler free, maybe comment down below. Otherwise, if you check out my Goodreads, I'll be updating that real soon with a more written, kind of well thought out review for that book. I really enjoyed it. I had some really unique things to say about that ending. For those who've read it, I'm sure you're feeling how I'm feeling, especially after finding out during the State of the Cosmere or the State of Sanderson that he posted that the next Stormlight book won't be out for a couple of years now, which means I'll be basically 35 when the book comes out, which is terrifying. Anyways, I thought we'd start the new year off with a TBR for January 2021. I just finished Crown of Swords by Robert Jordan, book 7 in the Wheel of Time. I rated it at 3.5 stars on Goodreads. I really wish I could have given a higher rating. I enjoyed it as I enjoy all the Wheel of Time books. It's like a creature comfort for me. However, that book just missed the mark on a bunch of different boxes for me about things I sort of, not that I expect, but the reasons why I keep coming back. More of a structural issue for me anyway. The main squad, Matt, Rand, and Perrin, and the girls, and Nynaeve, and Egwene, and Avienda, and Elaine, like anything with them, I was all for. But a lot of the other side characters, I just sort of just lost interest in halfway in the beginning of the book. Anyways, I feel like half that book could have been cut out or included in the last book. And the latter half of Crown of Swords I was actually really interested in. But it was kind of a bummer. It's the lowest rating I've given a Wheel of Time book to date. So that was pretty upsetting, but still pretty great. Still enjoyed it. I love Wheel of Time in general. I'm looking forward to reading book 8 next month, as I am reading Wheel of Time and Malazan back to back bi-monthly. So this month I am reading Deadhouse Gates by Steve Erikson, which is on this TBR, but on the tail end of it. Let's get into what I'm reading right now. The book I am currently reading is Voice of War by Zack Argyle. I heard about this book on Mark Lawrence's indie self-publisher spotlight list that he posted. I think it was either last year, or I'm not sure when he posted it. I'll put a link down below, but I read that list and I bought a few books off of it because they were really interesting to me. And Zack Argyle's book Voice of War, book 1 of the Threadlight series, just really stuck out to me as a big fan of Stormlight Archive and Brandon Sanderson. When I read the back of this book and looked at the art and the cover and read the first chapter as a sample, it just checked all my boxes for what I'm most interested in. You can definitely tell so far this is very Stormlight Archive inspired, but honestly it's a lot darker than I was expecting. I'm on chapter 10 at this point, filming this video. I'm also listening to it on audio form, which the audio narrator is amazing. But the book itself, let's talk about it real quick. It has to do with a father. His name is Chris. He's a thread weaver, and he's sort of like this detective slash like high-ranking official in this governing force, or this governing power. And he is tasked with investigating these shady individuals who seem to be stealing or siphoning blood from these thread weavers and selling it to people who can't thread weave. In this world, the colors blue and green eyes sort of have a lot of value. They can use this magic system, and those with the brown eyes are kind of, I wouldn't say undervalued, but they have no magical powers. And so those who don't have magical powers seek out this blood to channel this power for a short time. So super interesting. It's got a lot of cool concepts. It's like a darker version of Stormlight so far, but it almost has like a filter of like Dark Souls and Bloodborne over it, which I'm really, really enjoying. So I'm really digging this one. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. I do believe the second book comes out this year. He's been posting about it on social media a lot about the cover reveal. I'm looking forward to that because the cover is gorgeous. If you haven't had a chance to check it out and you're looking for something to read after your Rhythm of War book hangover that I myself am currently experiencing, this is a great one to jump into. Next up, we have Volume 6 of The Ancient Magus Bride. This is a manga that I hold near and dear to my heart. I love this series so much. I've been trying to read it as I watch the anime because I don't want to get too far ahead of either. Kind of like watching and reading at the same time because it's very well adapted. Very similar to My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer. Oh my goodness, if you're not familiar with Ancient Magus Bride, it follows a girl named Chise. She's a half-fae. She's not really human. She's like a half-human, half-fae character whom finds herself, after a series of very unfortunate events, being sold into not really slavery, but she finds herself like at this auction for magical items and creatures, and she is purchased by a very well-known, powerful, and brooding mage named Elias. He brings her back to his home, and then he frees her, tells her that she's not going to be his servant, she's going to be his wife, but first he's going to train her in the art of being a mage. And at first it really kind of pushed me away because it wasn't the kind of story I thought I'd be interested in. But very quickly after reading the first 2 volumes and then going back and watching the anime, just absolutely fell in love with it. For fans of Full Metal Alchemist, if you're looking for a new read or watch, definitely check out Ancient Magus Bride. It is wonderful, it is wholesome, but also dark and mysterious, and it's got some really great characters that are pretty unforgettable at this point, and I'm looking forward to continuing this journey with this manga series. Next up, we have a book that I have been trying to get to for almost a year. It is one of my most anticipated reads of now 2021. I was trying really hard to get to it last year before the holiday season ended, but alas, Rhythm of War just kind of all consumed me, as well as the other books I was reading at the same time. Trying to get that at 60 gold, and I didn't want to rush this one because I'm really excited about it, and that is Tamsyn Muir's Gideon the Ninth. This has been on my shelf for a while. I actually own the hardcovers of both Gideon and Haro now. You're wondering why I have 2 copies of it. One, I can already tell this is going to be like an instant favorite of mine, just from everything I've heard from my closest friends. I think I'm really going to enjoy it. And also, I had purchased this paperback and the hardcover of Haro because my local bookstore didn't have the hardcover of Gideon in. And then I had gone back like a month later, having tossed the receipt for this obviously, and I saw they had a hardcover of the first book, but it was actually a defect, and the print was like upside down and flipped. So it was really funky and weird, but otherwise the book read fine. It was printed upside down, so you just have to flip the book when you're reading it. It's a super weird defect, but I kind of love it for that. And it's like a wonky story to begin with, so it kind of feels like it fits right with the setting. But yeah, I got the hardcover for like half off because of that, and now I own both of them. But yeah, Gideon the Ninth, Tamsyn Muir, I've heard such great things about this, as well as the audio for it, so I'm looking forward to checking it out. This is a book that I judged pretty harshly on its cover when I first was shown it, or came across it at the bookstore, which is crazy now because I look at it now and I love the cover, but for some reason I thought this was like urban fantasy. I don't know why. Totally shame on me, totally my fault. I had no idea what it was about. I just saw the cover and thought, it's urban fantasy. I'm not into that right now. And granted, I love urban fantasy. Neil Gaiman is one of my favorite authors. However, at this stage of my reading journey, I'm just not in the mood for urban fantasy right now. And I'm not actually sure what changed my mind, but I come across a review and a video on BookTube. I'm not sure whose it was. To be honest, it was a while ago, a couple months ago. And I learned that this was a science fiction or sci-fantasy read, and right away like sort of washed away my preconceived notions of it, and my expectations went out the window. I read the back of the book, was like, oh my goodness, lesbian necromancers in outer space, like please inject this straight into my veins. This is exactly the kind of read I want to get into, and I want to just devour whole, and I'm very much looking forward to blasting through this one and hopefully jumping right into Haro either at the end of the month or in February. Genuinely very excited about checking this one out. It's been on my list for a while. It's actually been next to my bed, my nightstand, on my TBR physical, and it's been kind of haunting my dreams. I've been trying to get to it so desperately, but I'm very much looking forward to finishing Voice of War and jumping straight into this one. Next up, we have some honorable mentions for the month that were on my wish list for the holidays that I got as gifts for my family and friends, and I'm very excited about them. I'm not sure if I'll get to them this month. They are shorter, so I'm going to try and get through Gideon and Voice of War. I'm going to enjoy them. I don't like to rush my reads, especially ones that I'm really excited about. But one of the books I'm hoping to get to by the end of the month is More Beautiful Than Death. It is a Star Trek novel by David Mack. I am just in a super Star Trek mood lately. My wife and I have been watching Star Trek Discovery and loving it. If you're sleepy on that show, please, if you're a science fiction fan or a Star Trek fan, there's something for everybody in that show. It is so cool and so much darker than I was anticipating. Really loving it. But I checked out this book because I do love the J.J. Abrams films as well as the originals, but I do love the newer trilogy, and I guess this book is written with those characters and those actors portraying those characters in that timeline. I believe it's the Calvin timeline. But yeah, this novel takes place in that timeline with those characters, so you can kind of read it and imagine those actors as, these famous, well-known Star Trek heroes. I don't even know much about what the story is other than it's pretty dark and has to do with Spock's father withholding a secret, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. It's like has to do with dark energy and demons, even though we know this is Star Trek, so it's science fiction. There's not a lot of fantasy elements, but something about investigating this demonic presence in a science fiction Star Trek setting just right away speaks to me. I'm very excited about this one. I really do hope I get this one by the end of the month. I am going to be reading it physically, not audio, so that should be fun. All right, next up we have The Haunting of Bryn Wilder by Wendy Webb. This has been a book I was anticipating all year last year for 2020. None of my local bookstores were selling it, which is a super bummer because I have a bunch of her books. She's fabulous. If you like mysterious horror, gothic ghost stories, but also like in a modern setting, check out Wendy Webb. From what I know about this book, it's about Bryn Wilder, this woman who escapes a bad situation and seems to dive into a worse one as she retreats her hometown and goes to Lake Superior to stay at a retreat. I'm not sure if it's a retreat or a hotel, but some antics ensue and she meets a bunch of strange characters that are staying at this location, and they're all sort of tied into each other, and there's some cult vibes, some spooky ghost story vibes. But let me just read off the back of the book to give you an idea of what, maybe it'll pull you in like it pulled me in. After a devastating loss, Bryn Wilder escapes to Wharton, a tourist town on Lake Superior, to reset. Checking into a quaint boarding house for the summer, she hopes to put her life into perspective. In her fellow lodgers, she finds a friendly company of strangers: the frail Alice, cared for by a married couple with a heartbreaking story of their own; Luane, an eccentric and lovable owner of the inn; and Dominic, an unsettling, handsome man, inked from head to toe in mesmerizing tattoos. But in this inviting refuge, where a century of souls has passed, a mystery begins to swirl. Alice knows things about Bryn, about all of them, that she shouldn't. Bad dreams and night whispers lure Bryn to a shuttered room at the end of the hall, a room still heavy with recent death. And now she's become irresistibly drawn to Dominic, even in the shadow of rumors that wherever he goes, suspicious death follows. In this chilling season of love, transformation, and fear, something is calling Bryn to sell her past. She may have no choice but to answer. So there's something about it. It was spooky, but also kind of a thriller vibes to it. And I love stories that take place in either hotels or retreats in the woods. It just reminds me of home. I'm from New Hampshire. So something about it was kind of like feeling reminiscent, kind of missing home this holiday season. So hoping to get to this one by the end of the month. I am reading this one physical. I don't have the audiobook. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Wendy Webb before, I highly recommend her. And then last but not least, we have Deadhouse Gates by Stephen Erikson, I mentioned earlier. I'm reading Wheel of Time and Malazan bi-monthly. Last month I read A Crown of Swords by Robert Jordan. Kind of finished it January 1st, but whatever. And Malazan Deadhouse Gates is next on my list. I'm very excited about this one. I really enjoyed Gardens of the Moon, but I've heard that Deadhouse Gates is where the Malazan Book of the Fallen is going to mesmerize me and just lock me in for life as a lifelong fan. So really excited about this one. It comes highly rated from Brittany, book from Brooks of Brittany. She's a huge Malazan fan, and I know she's really excited about me checking this one out. So I actually have the audiobook for this one as well. I do enjoy the way that the narrator is reading it, gives these characters voices. So I'm excited to kind of read and listen at the same time. I don't know much about this story other than it takes place at some point before or after the first book. I've heard that the timeline of Malazan jumps around, so I'm really excited about going into this one. I haven't even read the back of the book of this one. I'm just really excited about going in kind of blind, even though I'm vaguely familiar with the world. But I've heard that this one is not necessarily better than the first one, but I've been told that if you can get through the first one and enjoy it, this is where you'll really fall in love with Malazan, so I'm excited about this one. And lastly, I have one graphic novel to read this month, although I might get to EMPRESS Volume 2. I received it as a gift from a dear friend of mine, and I absolutely just adored it, and I kind of want to just dive right back into it, but I promised myself I'd get to this new graphic novel that I got as well during the holidays, and that would be Mark Millar's EMPRESS from Millar World. This is book 1 in the EMPRESS story. I don't think book 2 is even out yet. Art by Stuart Immonen. I've heard great things about this one. It kind of gives me a Coed and Cambria Mori Wars vibes, but as well as a little bit of Titan AE, to be honest with you, where it's got this like whimsical sci fantasy vibes to it, and I'm not even sure exactly what it's about, other than it's an action-packed space opera story. The art is gorgeous. I've had multiple people tell me I'm going to love it. So I kind of just had it on my wish list. Someone thought of me, they picked it up for me, so I'm excited to dive into it. It's pretty short too, so I can probably finish this in one day. So hopefully later this week I'll have a review up on Goodreads. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. The art is just absolutely gorgeous. Again, I can't not think about Titan AE. It's an old film from the early 2000s that I think, I'm probably one of like 10 people that I really loved and who watches frequently. I really enjoyed Reborn by Mark Millar, so I'm only assuming if his writing ability is as good as it was in Reborn, that I'm going to love this one too. That's it for this TBR. I just want to check in with you all. I know it's been a minute. I'll be rolling out some new content pretty soon, including some reviews and maybe even a vlog. I know a lot of you guys commented on and really enjoyed that vlog, and I kind of enjoyed making it for the most part, as well as kind of including some of my writing stuff in there. I've really been loving everything I've been reading lately. I'm on like a winning streak, so I'm just hoping that these books this month don't disappoint. I don't think they will. As of right now, these books are all I have on my list. I try to limit my TBR for the month of January and kind of just read the books I was most excited about. I'm not doing anybody reads this month. I'm not doing any suggestions. I'm not reading anything my friends and family at home. I am just solely focused on these books I've been anticipating for a while now, especially Gideon. That's been on my list forever. Ever since I reread Dune, to be honest with you. I'm still kind of in the mood for it, so I'm really excited about checking that one out. I'm looking forward to putting together a review of that one. It's going to be almost impossible for me not to, because I'm so excited about it. That's going to be it for this one, guys. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the channel. It helps me know that there are people out there enjoying the content that I'm creating. I enjoy creating in general and talking about books because I genuinely love books and love reading. So for me, this is just fun in general. But it does help to know that there are others out there that are enjoying the content that I am creating, as well as the books I'm talking about. And I'd love to converse more about them with you guys. So if you have any comments, drop them down below. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Stay wicked.